Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Caregiver Saathi, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone who's tuned in for today's conversation. Doctors, dressed up in one professional costume or another, have been in busy practice since the earliest records of every culture on earth. It is hard to think of a more dependable or enduring occupation, harder still to imagine any future events leading to its extinction. Said Lewis Thomas, scary thought, right? The world without doctors cannot exist. A lot of us owe our life to these doctors. I am one person included in that list. Humanizing Our Healers is an initiative of Caregiver Saathi, where we are looking at highlighting how human our healthcare professionals are. Today, I have a cohort of young doctors who are going to talk about their human emotions, how the last year and a half has treated them. We all depend so much on our doctors. Some maybe forget our superheroes are as human as you and I are. With that, I extend a very, very warm welcome to all the doctors present on this platform today. And we are really grateful and happy to have you in conversation with me here. And I request you guys to introduce yourself. I'm going to begin with Jerestyn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jerestyn. This is about doctors. So I am a doctor. I'm currently working at Jaslok. And what can I say about myself? I think just that I'm very passionate about what I do. I love my job. It's way more than a job for me. But besides that, there's a whole lot of backup and a lot of love for family. And I'm a budding aunt now to two 6-year-old nieces who are beyond life. And I think the other thing that's keeping us all going is our love for art. So I think I love to draw. That's what I can say about myself.
Thank you so much, Jerestyn. Now, Hemraj, please.
Yeah, so myself, Dr. Hemraj, Acharya. I belong from Rajasthan. I'm in Jaslok Hospital right now, doing my critical care fellowship here. I have parents. They are in Rajasthan, a place, Rautbhata, near Kota. I've got my wife and my 3-year-old baby here living with me. I'm the eldest son of my family, and I've got 2 elder sisters to me, but still I'm being the eldest son. They feel like a big brother. They feel me like a big brother and a younger brother. So basically, I have responsibility of all my siblings along with my parents who are living alone right now. Okay, none of the sons living right now with them.
Like I need to switch my places every 2 years, and that's how I meet new people and I get new experience also. So from 2005 onwards, I'm working in critical care mainly, but I'm an anesthesiologist. And apart from that, last 2 years back, I have got myself trained in palliative care. So I was about to change my profession from intensive care to palliative care. And thanks to COVID, I could not do it. So my palliative dream was about to get delivered, and because of COVID, I could not do it. But I have whatever I could contribute for COVID. I still feel I'm blessed. God has given me that opportunity to serve humanity, to help someone. And
Thank you.
And I'm mother of 2.
Wonderful. Thank you, Manali. Janhavi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janhavi. So actually about 2 years back, until then I had just finished my MD anesthesiology. I was more so working in the idea of going in that field. I don't know what shifted in my head, and I thought I should give this a try. So about 6 months prior to the pandemic, I started at Jaslok. I got married, I think, about a month before the pandemic to a non-medico. I come from a non-medico family completely. So it's been quite a whirlwind pandemic for me, emotionally as well as professionally. But I feel like when I joined in Jaslok, personally, I think that's been a very good ride. I found family here, friends who became family for sure. All of them who are out here right now.
Thank you, Janhavi. Saurabh. Saurabh, are you with us? Okay, I think there is some connectivity with Saurabh. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Hi, Saurabh.
Yeah, so I just come back home. Yeah, so I was in Jaslok for 2.5 years, and since 1.5 years I was in COVID only. So I have joined Jaslok after doing MBBS. I have not done my MD, but COVID taught me very useful things. Initially, I was getting very angry on patients' relatives, and I was not confident to managing the patients. But because of PPEs and donning in, so our consultants and our senior were not able to come fast. So that gave me confidence, and that made me calm also, because we were thinking of as the patient point of view also, that they are also patients, the relatives are also concerned about the patient. So that made me calm, and I was traveling.
I think there is a connectivity issue with Saurabh. No worries, whenever he can join back in. So thank you everyone for sharing who you are. With Manali, I think I have a different connect also. I did not know that you are married to an army officer. I am also an army officer's wife. And I also work in palliative care. So we have a
Yes.
double connect. And for the viewers, you see all these people here. They have families. They have hobbies like all of us. They have emotions like all of us. And that's how they are here, to share the human side for the sake of all the viewers. And with that, I'm going to ask the most important question in this part of my conversation. The last year and a half has been tough for everyone. Everyone. I think all across the world, the year and a half has been probably what we've never imagined in our lives, and we've only read in books. And to have experienced this is an event that none of us can ever forget. While the non-medicos dealt with it differently, the doctors faced the brunt of it. You guys have been, right in the thick of it, taking care of the patients. There have been a lot of deaths, but you've managed to save a lot of lives also. There have been a lot of expectations from our medicos. There have been demands which are unfair. And I want you to talk me through how the last year and a half has impacted you professionally and emotionally. So we can start with Jerestyn.
Okay. So I remember when COVID started, it was like Thanos snapped his finger and everything came to a halt. 2 days before the lockdown, I think on the 25th of March, it was a Sunday. It was the spring equinox, and that's Navroz for Parsis. And I remember from a week prior, we were all planning a get-together at my home with my sister coming in, her kids coming in. And just a day before that, I went into the COVID ICU, and we had 2 patients. And we had to intubate one of them. And I remember coming out the next morning and feeling like I've had 3 kilos of weight off me. And I remember going home that Navroz, and although everyone came home, I remember I told my nieces, don't touch me. You can't come and hug Masi today. And I think that's what I remember most in the last 1.5 years. That it's been a whirlwind of emotions, keeping away, staying in the same home and keeping your family members at bay, trying to not bring work at home, and staying sane, amid the waves, staying sane. I think that's been the toughest. Otherwise, I think professionally, we were all engrossed in work. We were doing our work, and I think more for me than anything else, I think I was just doing my job, albeit very differently than I would do it usually. But it was at the end of the day something that I love doing with a whole new dimension to it. That's what I can say.
Thank you for sharing that, Jerestyn. And I have goose flesh when you said you went home and you told your nieces not to hug you. How tough that is. And for Navroz, that is, I think, the most important festival of Parsis. And it must have been so tough on you. Now I am going to ask Hemraj, how you have a small baby.
Yes.
How difficult it was for you the last 1.5 years being in critical care and then coming back home with all the fear,
Yeah.
So can you just talk us through that, Hemraj?
Yeah. So when it all started in March 2020, we all were unaware of the disease. We all were not knowing what it is exactly. It all started like you have to be very specified with the PPs. You have to wear the mask. You have to be with distance, because we were not knowing, even our seniors, our consultant, no one was knowing about the disease. It was not in any course. It was not in
Hemraj,
Yes,
I'm going to interrupt. I'm so sorry. There is a crackle in your voice. Maybe you need to readjust if you're using hands-free or headphones. There's a slight disturbance. Yeah, we can try now.
Is it okay now? Is it okay now?
Yeah, you are audible. Yes, please.
Yeah. So when it all started, so we were not knowing about the disease exactly, what the virus is, what the treatment is, and nothing special we knew. That how even initially we had only one lab in the Pune which was testing these samples. Not every city was having RT-PCR lab initially. And we were so scared initially that what to do. We didn't have any isolated systems even. So we started on slowly with this. Initially, when I was posted, I think it was end of the March when I was posted in COVID duty. I just, I was being, initially, I was quarantined for 2 days. And it was the time only a few months back only my wife and my baby was shifted in Mumbai, and they were not knowing much of the Mumbai. Yeah. And I was in quarantine for 2 days when the report was to be done, and the report comes negative, then I was to go home. So for 2 days, they were like just doing a video call to me and saying that, how are you doing? Are you having any symptom or something? Because the initial case, what we got was by chance came positive. And I was the one who went to see that patient, but in a level 2 PP. It was not a level 3. So luckily the report came negative, but for these 2 days, they were like, they were being isolated and they were feeling helpless without me. Since it was the first time they were alone without me at home. A few days later, after a month, when it's all started, the COVID cases started increasing, and I was on duty, and I shared the COVID. Since we are not allowed to take the cell phone inside, my phone was in cupboard and was not reachable, and I have given the number, which was of the duty phone, and I gave it to my wife, and she called me one day scarily that she was scared of something, and she called me कि यहाँ पर ये लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हमें घर खाली करना होगा.
Oh dear.
So I consoled him that what happened. Don't panic. What happened? Somebody told that we have to shift out since you are working in COVID. This I told her, I consulted that don't worry, it won't happen. It's like something they don't know about it, but they will know it about it, and we have to talk about it with them. So I just talked and cleared everything, and they were like they were also panicked instead, I must say, because it was new for everyone. Everything was new for everyone. Everyone was a little on a back foot with the family members. They were scared for their own family members. We can feel the pain since we were talking with the relatives. We were handling the patient, and we knew what insecurity they had inside them. Everybody was like that. No, this doctor is working in COVID, and we should stay away from them. So rather getting help, but it was something which came all of a sudden. So have been coming, but later when they came to know that no, we are doing a good job keeping our family at risk, then they must have understood the balance between what we are doing for the without even knowing the cause, and no treatment with this. After that first year went out and the cases came down, even I used to got call from my mother and father. They were used to get worried a lot that take care. Every time they call, take care, please take care. It's something even nobody knows that what's going to happen. And surprisingly, when the COVID cases increased, the death rates increased, the mortality got increased, everybody was scared. But my 2-year-old daughter was not scared, since she was not knowing that what COVID is exactly. Whenever I used to go home, she used to come and play with me. She tried a lot, and I was to get that no, beta, stay away from me. But she was not ready to understand the thing, because at that time she was just 2 years. She wanted to play guitar with me. She wanted to get come on, Papa, chalo na piano bajate hain. And she was like khelte hain. But I was on every back foot. I had to keep distance with my baby, and initially. Like it was very difficult for me even seeing just her not playing with her, and she was getting angry, nahi papa chalo. So it was very difficult, these things. Later when we saw that and with these diseases, in this disease we don't have much of the hold, and the mortality started increasing in July, August. We don't have any hold, and that time we felt like we got this job, we chosen this job to save, but right now we are not savior. We don't have any medicines, we don't have much of these, and at that time but later when the trials came, starting of the steroids and all, we got the remdesivir. We could have hold on in the initial phases of the non-critical patients who were on low requirement of oxygen. So it was a mental torture. Even the patients and the relatives whom we knew that they are also getting admitted, and even a few got expired also. It was also disturbing. But when the second wave came, and the cases were like it was rising like anything. So I got a call from my mother. It was almost 6 to 7 months. And we didn't have vaccine even last year. We got vaccine this year only. So I took the first dose. They didn't got it. It was May. I think it was the May month was there. So I got a call that when are you coming back to see us? And I was like, yes, let this go. I think in June or July, when it goes, the second wave goes out, I will come to see you. So but they were like that we wish that this should go soon, because it's almost 6 months we have not seen, and the people, a few of our known also got died in it. And so they were like, what happens tomorrow with them or with me or with, it was really uncertain, and they were really worried about it, that at some point it was like whether we could meet next time or not. It was like that. And going inside, wearing a PP, and it was very difficult, and they were much worried about me, that with these cases, please be strict with the rules and get PP, and please take care a lot. Yeah. So these 1.5 years was very difficult. Even I have, with my wife, with my baby, and all my parents, my wife has supported a lot in these times when a single night we used to get 2-3 deaths, and it was totally smashed brains like anything, and drained out the emotions. It was very painful to see 3 deaths in a row in single 6 hours duty. And when you knew that the age of the patients who were dying was not even 40 plus, less of the age, these patients were dying, making video calls of the patients, and seeing the 8-year-old, 3-year-old kids, and was knowing that this patient is having so much of high requirement of oxygen and may not survive. Looking after all these patients from COVID, we can have a little prognostic factor, since we are looking after these patients for more than 1.5 years. And looking after the kids, even I was wondering that 4-year-old boy I'm video calling to her mother, and I knew that she won't be surviving. It was very painful. Yeah, it was very painful.
I am choking on my emotions, Hemraj, for what you've been through and how you've been there for your patients. You've taken care of everyone. I am falling short on words. And for the people who are listening to this conversation, I hope you've heard every word of what Hemraj said, and how his 2-year-old wanted to play with him and he couldn't. It's not by choice, he wanted to. All parents want to play with their children when they're growing up. It was the virus, and it was his dedication to wanting to save the parents that he stayed away from his families. And if you don't realize what they've been through, it's really unfortunate. They have sacrificed so much of themselves to be there for all of us. And we all should be in gratitude for their services, and also thankful to their families. I mean, I definitely would want to give a big hug to your baby for just, I don't know, somehow maybe she did understand that Papa is doing something, and somewhere she is, we are grateful to her and to your wife and to your parents, Hemraj. And just thank you for what you do. And a lot of people whom you've saved will be grateful to you. I'm going to come back to you with a lot of questions. I will move on to Janhavi to get her take on how the 1.5 years has been for you.
So I think it started on a different note, and now how it's been a learning curve. I think we were one of the first people, Jaslok was one of the first private hospitals to take in COVID patients. And I clearly remember about 2 days prior to that, I lost my grandmother. So I was supposed to go in for a shift, and I lost my grandmom in the morning. So I wasn't able to come for that shift. But I spoke to my mom and I told her, it looks like, it was a pandemic that was in the beginning. So we took the call that instead of, and I don't think my grandmom would have wanted me to be there. She would want me to, be at work. And there's a life that can be saved. I think we should work on that one. So the next day I came back, and close to what Jerestyn says, it was weird because I didn't know how to wear that PPE, and the number of videos you can watch, it's scary. It's like going to war. I had one of our colleagues, Hemraj, he was there prior to me, and I remember he was guiding me through the whole thing. And I just remember telling him once the head cover comes in that, Hemraj, I can't see the patient. How am I supposed to treat someone I can't see? So, and he's like, no, you get used to it. You're going to be able to breathe in sometime. Don't worry. Don't panic about it. I mean, luckily we had 2 patients. So it was okay, but it gave us time to settle in and understand. And the second thing being, it taught us this autonomicity. I think taking those quicker decisions, because help would take more time than it took. I know that when I joined Jaslok, we have fabulous team of seniors who are there at the fastest when you need them. But because of this whole donning and doffing, there was that time gap that we couldn't cover. So it gave you a little bit confidence to do that move that you wouldn't have done. So there's definitely, that's the pro that I think it brought. Personally, yeah, I had got married 3 weeks prior to the pandemic. I didn't know. I mean, it was, China had its cases, and Italy, I was planning a honeymoon to Italy. So we had canceled that, but nobody took it, I think, in that seriousness. I'm lucky we had a wedding of, I think, 300 people at a time where, I don't know, touch wood, nobody got infected. I mean, now that I look at it in retrospect, quite silly. The size of that wedding was 300, but this was somewhere around Feb, the end of Feb. I got married on Feb 26th. We didn't know that the proportions of the pandemic and its effects, like there was still the idea that it's just going to be a cough and cold, and you're going to get it out like a flu. So nothing to be worried about. I was 3 weeks into my marriage when I came here. It's a new family, it's a new life. Adjusting to that itself was difficult. Then taking that call, and there were a lot of people around me saying, you don't need to go into COVID, because there was all that fear regarding it. But I mean, my family, even the new one that I entered, as well as my parents, they've been very supportive from the get-go. Like, I've always had that guilt personally that, I'm going to give it to my husband. My mother-in-law is an asthmatic. My parents are diabetic and poorly controlled. You always have that you may just be asymptomatic and get out, but what you're going to transfer they might not be as lucky as you are. And to have that kind of guilt, that burden's really heavy. So yeah, you have to learn past that. But I do know one thing, especially when we got quarantined for exposure. I think I got quarantined the first time. I came out after 15 days, and on the 16th day, I went for my COVID duty again in Jaslok, and that very same day I had a chance exposure again. So I was re-put into quarantine. I hadn't seen my entire family for more than a month. And I don't think anything gets to you more than loneliness. You realize the importance of having your loved ones around when the option isn't there, when just the thought of even coming within like a few feet of them is going to put their life at danger, and only you in that hotel room. I won't wish that on my enemies. So those were hard times. But having said that, I mean, all of the ones here, Jerestyn's there from the beginning. I know how many calls we've made to each other during the beginning of that, where we panic, are we going to have a negative report or not? We procrastinate about the fact that, maybe we're getting some symptoms.
Yes, yes, we have. We had deadly conversations on that.
and then we would mutually try to make each other feel better, that, no, then, or I remember her telling me, read something, and she was get her all the snacks because she was quarantined a few days before me. So she was like, no, it'll get better, watch some Netflix and stuff like that. So they've been a huge help, all of them out here. Even Saurabh was there with me during quarantine. And they kind of give you that you may not be, so maybe your family is not here, but this is family as well, and they're here all the time. So that gives you a lot of support.
Thank you, Janhavi. And again, I'm going to come back to the viewers. Here's a young bride who wanted to go out with her husband. She could have chosen to be with her husband and the new family, but she chose to be with the patients. She chose to serve the cause that she's signed up for. And imagine what her family must have gone through. Imagine what her husband must have gone through. I mean, not being able to be there for each other, and especially when you've just entered into a relationship, how tough it must have been for him as well. And also she has similar fears like you and I. Are we going to test negative? Oh my God, I'm coughing. Is this COVID? So she experiences the same thing that all of us do. And this is how human she is. Thank you for sharing that, Janhavi. And again, thank you for what you do. And I'm going to come to Manali with that now.
Ma'am, actually, I have got two different experiences. One was from Delhi, and mid of the pandemic, we got posting to Mumbai. So I have shifted my complete house from Delhi to Mumbai, like mid of the pandemic in the month of June and July. So initially, I was in Delhi. My hospital had 3 units, and in the unit I was working, it was not going to take care of COVID patients. So everyone was happy that, oh, her hospital is not going to take care of COVID patients. But I was not really very happy. I was feeling that I'm ready to work for COVID. So my they should utilize that my volunteership, because many people were not ready to work in the COVID. So there were 3 units, and the unit which was dedicated for COVID, it was in Manesar. It was absolutely outskirts of the Delhi. I was staying in heart of Delhi, that was in Delhi cantonment. And they asked me whether I'm ready to work for COVID, and I was more than happy when they asked me. So I was more than happy to work with COVID. So I have volunteered myself to work in the COVID. So Manesar was outskirts of the Delhi, and I had to travel from Delhi cantonment to Manesar. So they told us that they will make some hotel arrangements so that my family should not get exposed to COVID. I was more than happy that, thank God, my family will not get infection. I need to stay away from that. And I probably, we have got WhatsApp, and we have got good network. So internet connections are there. Um, that separation might not pinch us more. So without uh, understanding gravity of the situation, I jumped in. So I shifted to Manesar, and after getting shifted to Manesar, I realized that it is so hard to be away from the family. I had 2 young girls, and like throughout the life, we had routine that we will not leave our home without hugging each other, without kissing each other, without saying good night kiss, without sharing good night kiss. We will not sleep, and that was ritual for years together. And when I shifted to hotel, I found it most difficult part is staying away from them. And initially I had that greed of hugging them. Now I had greed of seeing them once, seeing them once in a daytime in front of my eyes. So these are the shifting goals. We have that shifting goals in cancer care, and I have realized that shifting goals in COVID care. So I have stayed in that hotel for just for a week. But after a week, it was absolutely unbearable for me to be away from the family. So we have just requested one person to fix one AC in the third bedroom. And that person came mid of the pandemic. He fixed that AC in the third bedroom. And I chose to be like working from my home. So I shifted in a new bedroom. I was in a bedroom. My husband was in another bedroom, and kids were staying in the third bedroom. So that's how we have separated our family in one home. And I was so happy to see them once, like just will wave at each other from far distance. And I used to feel that this is at least not seeing them was too painful. Seeing them once in a day, at least it gives me some emotional strength to deal with the stress. And I chose to travel. I used to hate driving, but I chose to drive from Delhi cantonment to Manesar every day for COVID. So I used to travel all that distance and come back home. I'll take my bath and wave at my kids, and I used to be very happy. And these are not these are the few challenges. There were many challenges. My neighbors were upset with me. My few neighbors, I must clarify that my few neighbors were upset with me that someone is getting quarantine, someone is getting COVID, so I should not be going and working. They were afraid that I might give them infection. Even we had separate separate blocks. We were not sharing our houses, but they were afraid that I should not be sharing my common passages also. I never use lift because I was thinking that they are using lift, so I should not be using lift. For sixth floor house, for fifth floor house, I never use lift. I used to take stairs and go, because they used to use lifts. And but there were good people also. I had good neighbors also who used to always motivate me that you are doing something good and you should do that. There were many positive people who used to say that, oh, you are doing good, please continue it, and anything required, we are always there. My maid used to stay in my house, and she was the amazing lady. She never got scared that I will give her infection. So I have given her option that if she doesn't want to come, she can stay in her room and I will pay her. She can just skip my work. She have that liberty to choose decision whether she needs to come and work, or she cannot just, she can stay in her home and she can get the salary. But she said, no, I'll come and work with you. So she was working with me and she was the biggest support that point of time, because otherwise, like, my family left alone, who will cook for them, who will do rest of the job. But she was there, so I can dedicate uh, my all the I can dedicate myself for COVID. My parents were in Maharashtra. I was in Delhi. My in-laws were also stuck in Maharashtra that point of time. And I did not tell them that I'm working for COVID. I thought that they will be panicking. So I used to make video call and I used to make sure that whenever I'm staying in the hotel, they should not see my background. So we have manipulated in that way also. We will make group video calls and we will say that we are just staying in a different room. So I have bluffed my parents and my parents-in-law also, just to keep them away from that fear of COVID. So those were like, I believe those days also are gone. Now we are staying in the same house. That COVID fear has gradually gone down. Uh, there were tough times where I lost one of my junior. We have lost few of known to people, and we had that fear that we might get infection, we might give this infection to families. But still, that tough time has gone. It is a struggle. It is still ongoing, but that fear has gone down a little, and we are moving ahead with the same fear. We have started understanding how to deal with that fear. So that was about the last year. After getting shifted to Delhi, I was so fortunate to work with Jaslok ICU team, and here also we had a different experience, but COVID remains same. We had different families to deal, but again that stress, that fear, that tough time remains same. Again, um, professional hurdles were there. Disease was new, treatment was new, and media hype was new. Everyone had something new drug, and patient will come and ask you, patient will demand for some new modalities for them, and actually denying that their request also was very different and challenging. But gradually we got to know how to deal different situation and how to move ahead. So life keeps on moving, and we are doing with the time.
Thank you, Manali. And I feel you so much. And here is a mother speaking. We heard a father talk, and here we have a mother's perspective, how difficult COVID was for them. You know, for a mother or for a parent, there's nothing more precious than their own children. And to not be able to touch it, especially when they're little, they want you all the time. They, you know, when you come back from work, they want to hug you, they want to touch you, they want to play with you. And these people were not able to do that, not by choice again. And being an army officer wife, I know how difficult it is when you have to move every 2 years. She managed that too. And just hats off to you. Thank you. That's all that I'll say, Manali. Thank you. I am choking on each story here, and I am just so goosebumpy and emotional. Saurabh.
Yeah. So I have been working since I think last week of March in COVID. So before I think lockdown, that Janta curfew was started on 22nd of March, and I went to Gujarat. So I belong from Gujarat. So my in-laws are living in Junagadh, nearby Rajkot, and my mother-in-law was sick. So me and my wife went to see her, and my son was with my mother at Mumbai. And the next day, the train I have.
Saurabh, you were on mute. Saurabh, you were on mute, please. Thank you.
Luckily, I reached to Mumbai, but my wife was with my mother-in-law only, and
And Saurabh, you've got, we are
but
losing you.
for next 2 months, the train were not started, and the public transport was also not started. For private traveling or private car traveling also, we were not getting permission. So my son was with me, and my wife was at Junagadh.
And please.
He was continuously asking for my wife, but my mother, thankfully, my mother taking care of him very nicely.
Saurabh, mute again. Maybe you'll have to adjust the settings once, please.
Because my wife is also doctor, and she was also working in medical profession only. But after 55 days, my father-in-law came by car, driving around 800 kilometer, and took my wife to Mumbai. And initially, we were doing that. For 7 days we were doing 7 days duty, and after that we got 7 days off. And after 7 days duty, we had to do RT-PCR after 4th day. So we all had the fear that by chance, if I will get positive, then what will happen to my family? Because all were with me. My grandmother was also living with me. She's around 90. So yeah, it was a tough time. But yeah, luckily we came back. My whole family had COVID in October, but luckily no one had to get hospitalized. And now I am in Gujarat. I have left Jaslok 10 days before, but right now we are settled. The fear has little bit came down, and now yeah, we are settled, and we are happy that I am very happy that I have worked in COVID in Jaslok only.
Thank you for sharing that, Saurabh. And what you've said, I think, is going to resonate with a lot of our listeners.